Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Flesh and Blood and Bone podcast. I am Kyra. I'm here with my dad, Tony. That's Tony. And today we are jumping ahead in the future of my dad's career to go back into the past of 1987 with Totally Killer.
I'd like to report a crime that hasn't happened yet. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future? Basically, I'm living that movie right now, which is how I know there's gonna be a murder tonight.
Hate time travel movies. They never make any sense.
My dad didn't do the SFX for the movie, but he and his shop and his team were responsible for the mask of the killer, which is sitting behind us here in the studio. And my dad has done many masks for Blumhouse before. He's done Baby from Happy Death Day and the Butcher's Mask from Freaky. Am I missing any? Oh, right, They, Them.
And maybe a couple other odds and ends.
Yes, and so although... Well, I couldn't get a DVD of Totally Killer. It's not out yet. So instead of doing the plot, and also I don't want to say the whole plot because it'll give away the ending, I'm just going to give a little bit of a backstory rundown on the plot. This movie takes place in today, following a high school girl named Jamie, and basically her mother... 35 years ago, her entire friend group was murdered by a person that they referred to as the Sweet 16 Killer because all of the victims were stabbed 16 times. Jamie's mother, played by Julie Bowen
From Modern Family.
Is...
And Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah, and she's in Happy Gilmore. I always forget that. Is hesitant to let Jamie go out on Halloween, which actually doesn't make... Is it Halloween? Yeah, it's Halloween, which also kind of doesn't make sense now that I think about it because, I guess the anniversary of their deaths happens to be...
They're all at a party.
Yeah, and it's Halloween. Anyhow, that aside, she's hesitant to let her daughter go out on Halloween. She's going to a concert with her friend. While they are out, this is a spoiler, but it takes place in the first 15 minutes of the movie, so if you don't want to listen, then close your ear holes. But her mother is murdered, and that sets up the plot of the entire movie. At Jamie's school, they have a science fair project, and her best friend is somehow working on a time machine. So we're gonna believe that. We'll suspend our disbelief there. She's working on a time machine, and Jamie uses it to go back to 1987, which was the date in which her mother's friends were murdered in an attempt to stop the killer before the first set of killings. And obviously, she's not entirely successful because some people die along the way because it's a horror movie. And then we find out who is the killer, and will she stop the person in time? We don't know. You'll have to watch to find out. I'm trying to phrase this in a way that's not giving away anything.
Yeah, I just think Scream meets Back to the Future.
Yeah. Did you watch it yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Sometimes my dad will make stuff for movies and then he won't watch the movie for a while.
No, I saw it. Yeah, I did.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it. You know what I liked best about this movie?
What?
That it was finally directed by a woman.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Blumhouse. Thanks for thinking of us. A woman of color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. I'm going to mispronounce her name, I feel, but Nanashka. You guys all call her Natch, so I'm going to refer to her as Natch.
Yes. Last name is Khan.
She
did a TV series called Fresh Off the Boat, and then she brought an actor or two
from that
into this film.
Yeah, that was cool to see it directed by a woman, a lot of women cast. Now, you didn't go onto set for this, or did you have somebody handling the mask that was one of your team members?
We didn't have anybody from our team here handling it at all. We literally shipped it all off to Canada for filming, and they didn't require anyone from the U.S. here. We just kind of steered them through the basics. But it's a pretty basic mask. When we did Freaky, I was on set for all the effects.
Yeah.
But we still had somebody local in that area that was there more full time. So it's different on every film, but most of the stuff that goes to Canada, they try not to
have any Americans.
Have to not spend any extra money.
Right. Sometimes they'll have what's called a mask wrangler, which is like a person who's just in charge of the mask, basically, and making sure it looks good.
Like when we weren't on set for Freaky, we would give the mask to the prop department.
Okay.
And on other shows, the mask would go to the wardrobe department. It just depends on the way the production's organized.
I see. So how I watched my dad's shop like build this mask for a kind of a long time, and I was confused because I thought Totally Killer was like the tentative name for the movie, because a lot of the times a movie will have a tentative movie like title to start their LLC so that they can start production. But then it ended up being the actual name of the movie. Anyhow, I had no idea what was going on. My dad's sometimes very good about his NDAs and not telling his own family about things. So I had no idea what was happening. And I was like, what the hell is this mask? Now I know, like a year later. Anyhow, so they approached, Blumhouse Television approached you for this?
It was producers from Freaky actually came to us and said, hey, we have another masked killer. Would you be interested in doing the mask? There's really not very much gore in this one, because in Freaky we like...
Yeah, Freakies, we'll get into that.
We cut Alan Ruck in half on a table saw and all sorts of crazy stuff. And on this one, it was really more about the humor of the situation than any real major carnage.
The humor of your mom getting murdered.
Almost.
Almost. Well, does she still get murdered in the end? We don't know.
She didn't get murdered in now time anyhow, because she was here.
I don't understand time travel. But, okay. And then did you work with Natch of like what she wanted, or was it kind of built into the script of what it was going to be?
Well, when it started, Adam sent us the script, introduced us to everybody. We had a big meeting with the director and the producers and a couple other people. And it was Brian Christensen and myself from Alterian. And the conversation very quickly steered into what is really iconic from the 80s that would help ground this and make it a period piece. And we sort of, for a while, looked at things like Beetlejuice and Ninja Turtles and stuff like that as potential masks this killer could have just taken off of a shelf in a store.
Can you be scary? Oh, I know you're asking me. Can I be scary? What do you think of this? You like it?
Brian and I hadn't read the script yet, so we weren't really clear on
what it was supposed to be.
Is the mask aged? So like we literally went out and we like bought a Beetlejuice mask, because the Halloween mask is Captain Kirk painted white.
And I didn't know that and literally until a week ago.
Okay. Well,
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So we thought, well, maybe it's the same sort of thing where maybe somebody takes something that's existing. But everything was so specific in their look, even the Beetlejuice masks with the hair pushed back and the big smile. It was super creepy. And then there was supposed to be an aged version of it, so I stained one up. And we started taking existing stuff and messing with it to help figure out a direction. Brian started doing a 3D render as well, a 3D design of a look that was sort of a riff off of a Michael Jackson mask. And then we went down this rabbit hole with it was Natch's idea, like the handsome man being the killer, and the last thing you see is his smile, and he's very vibrant and looks almost charming, but it's so charming it's creepy.
FYI, not my fault.
And then we started taking matinee idols from that time, and even Kiefer Sutherland's character in Lost Boys, the vampire, with the blonde hair and the earring and all that kind of stuff. And then the Michael Jackson mask had a really big, perfect smile and a really skinny nose. Then we were playing reference of like Dolph Lundgren.
Who is the most underrated actor of all time?
It's Dolph Lundgren.
Correct.
Rob Lowe and other matinee people from that time period. We roughed it out, and then it became all about hair color, and we had it with brown hair at first, and it sort of grounded it, made it less fantastical, I think everybody thought. So we went with like a blonder hair. Billy Idol is actually a big inspiration too. Musician from then. It had kind of the same vibe as Kiefer Sutherland in Lost Boys. And then when it was decided we were going to sculpt the hair, it's like, do we want to sculpt it to look real, or do fur like the Halloween mask, or we want to make it look plastic like Max Headroom?
Yeah.
And then how do we make it different enough from all of those people
that we've already
where it's
seen?
really sort of it's like you're throwing a net across all of the 80s and trying to figure it out.
I wasn't alive then, but I feel like you did that.
I think everyone did a fantastic job, really. Wardrobe in particular. Patty Henderson, we'd worked with her on one of the Chucky films way back when. So it was really nice to work with her again because she's super collaborative. She was trying to figure out how to ground
The outfit?
the specific look in the 80s. And that's where she came up with a t-shirt design that's a bit derivative of Miami Vice. That was also an influence in what we were doing as well with the sort of slick back look. And she sort of did a riff on that for the t-shirt logo. But we had to cover all the skin because
you needed to hide the person's
and their gender and their color
and everything. So they have gloves. But now that I think about it, this is a bit of a spoiler, so also close your ear holes if you don't want spoilers. But when the one person goes back in time with the mask on, how does he have that outfit?
Did he go back in time, or did he already have it there?
How would he have had it? Because the other guy was...
I don't know. There's also all those people celebrating the Sweet 16 killer.
Oh, so I guess they all had
dressed
outfits.
like him too. So in modern days,
I guess he could have found it. It's a Halloween costume.
It was a Halloween costume in the area and they sort of set that up in the beginning.
Yeah.
People do the tours of the murder scenes,
and they dress up like it.
Yeah, and they dress up like the Sweet 16 killer in the mask and the outfit.
Okay, I got a little confused.
And it's like he's got gloves on and everything else. Also, Adam Hendricks had said that we had done something similar on Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2, where you didn't want to know the gender or the age or the skin tone or anything about the killer.
So gloves.
And we had used a black hood on a hoodie, but we couldn't do the same thing twice, so it had to cover the whole head this time.
Yeah, because this was something I asked my dad in a little clip to post on his social media, which follow him at Alterian Inc. on Instagram, was, Happy Death Day, and freaky masks are just a front mask that have straps. So I asked what was a part of the decision making and making it a full head mask, and obviously it was to do something different, but then, I'll let you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to also so you didn't have to put the hood over the person again.
Yeah. And there was, if you were seeing them from behind at night, it wasn't a full black figure. You actually saw the blonde hair and something to stand out against all the darkness too, which was what worked great with the babyface killer's face, but from behind. It was just a black silhouette.
Black silhouette. I know. It's.
Or I should say they were just a black silhouette.
They, because we don't know who that
was.
is, even though both those movies have been out for a while. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Well, this one, this mask that's currently sitting behind us doesn't have his earring, and I just realized.
Oh, that's the Paint Master, actually.
That's what
that's
I put
the 3D printed copy, because when they decided to do promo for the film.
Oh, right.
There was a SAG strike, which just ended last night?
Yes.
Tentatively ended.
From when we're filming this.
Yes. There was a SAG strike going on. There was really no way to promote the film in regards to having the actors be able to do press or go on talk shows and talk about it at all, because it wasn't allowed. So the studio decided, let's build a bunch of multiple totally killer masks and have the killer show up in a lot of the cities to promote the movie, since they couldn't have the cast do anything.
Right. And they made a shiz ton of masks here. It was
we made like at least 30.
Did you ever see any of those pictures? Because I haven't.
I've seen some of the promo stuff that Natch did, like for screenings in different cities or premieres. And they would have multiple killers in the audience and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
But we made 30 with the idea being they could show up all over the country, basically. And then the idea was they were going to give a bunch away after. So suddenly our little production mold for the movie, which was great for the 5 or 6 masks that we needed to make, wasn't going to hold up for 30. And we'd already sort of blown out the mold. So we reprinted the scan of the sculpture, remolded that, and then made a production mold. And that's actually a rigid copy of the mask. Oh. And that's why there's no earring on it.
Yeah. Why is the earring a lightning bolt?
We were just kind of riffing on the different things from Lost Boys and and Rob Lowe's earring in another 80s film.
Where did you meet Wendy again?
Prison.
My context to this movie before it had come out was we went to Halloween Horror Nights because Chucky had a maze this past year. And so we went to opening night, and our group was like, if you could have like a smoke circle of people, well, maybe it's just one person that I was excited about. But our group, we ended up getting pulled into like the Blumhouse team of going through Halloween Horror Nights. And in that was James Wan, and I shit myself. And he knew who I was because I had posted on Instagram on my story about my love for Dead Silence, and he saw it, and we had a conversation over Instagram about it. And somehow he remembered me, and that's really cool. Anyway,
I didn't realize that was when you actually met for the first time in person, though.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
And apparently my dad and him had met a while before on something.
The premiere seat of Chucky 1,000,000 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
It'd been a minute.
Yeah.
So they got to reconnect, which was cool. And then it was Ryan Turek, who works at Blumhouse, and Natch.
And Adam and Natch and everybody's spouses. And
yeah, it was like this.
It was a great little reunion.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
just cool, like, group that we got thrown into for Horror Nights. But I didn't have time to change my shoes, so I did all of Horror Nights in like 2-inch platform boots. That's fine.
Covered in blood.
Yeah, covered in bedazzled blood. But it was cool to see Natch in person. This movie hadn't come out yet, so I didn't, know what to ask her per se. So I left to try and do a podcast and get her on here. But I did say that it was cool that, she was a woman hired by Blumhouse to do a movie. Thank God, finally. And I know that Blumhouse has hired more women as of late, but like the ratio is still not where it needs to be. And a lot of the women hired are also for like television rather than feature films. So, I mean, even this was like Blumhouse Television was the production.
Yeah, that was kind of the first time we'd done anything with Blumhouse Television.
This is all for me to say that I went up to her and because there's a back in the 80s, right, of like when people were starting to get their ears pierced, particularly men, there was like a gay ear and a not gay ear.
Oh, right.
And so this is the not gay ear.
The saying was left is right and right is wrong. Yeah, that's what they used to say back in the 80s.
Ew. Yeah, that's nuts. So right.
The 80s were a good time.
No, homophobia galore.
Oh, big time, yeah.
The right ear would be a gay person, and the left would be a straight man. And so I told Natch, I was like, it makes it scarier that it's a straight man. You couldn't have a gay man mask running around killing people because I'm less scared of a gay man than I am a straight man. So, and we had a conversation about that, and she was really awesome about it. But it's true. A straight man with a veneer white smile and blonde hair with dark eye holes that you can't see. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary, and that's creepy. And so Natch and I talked about that, and that was kind of funny. And she also had said, if I remember correctly, that it was a point to make it on that ear.
And to have a big, really extreme smile. So it was very happy and pleasant, but wrong at the same time.
And then I like how the one eyebrow is like...
It's a little bit of a sneer, but just in the eyebrows. Yeah. That's the little bit of Billy Idol in there too.
I see. Yeah, very cool. Do you prefer making masks that are like pullover masks or ones that are front on like baby face?
I like both. I think when you're doing a full head, you're creating a whole character. I don't know that it's necessarily literally necessary for a human character to need a full head. I think having real hair and a face that's slightly altered is really creepy too, like those vacuform, like skin tight masks that you can kind of see through. To me, from my childhood, that was one of the scariest things I remember. So I guess it's personal preference, really.
That's what
I like all of them. I like the fact that the mask in Freaky it existed aesthetically simply because the house that the killer was in
was like a rich museum.
It's a rich guy's like collection of trophies and like weapons and masks, and he grabs the mask from the wall and in line with a bunch of other masks, takes the dagger out of a case, and it just so happens the dagger is possessed, but the mask doesn't cover his whole head, but it doesn't matter. You're Vince Vaughn and
yeah.
But when he stabbed me, we both got hurt.
What do you mean?
Standing and peeing is kind of rad.
It must be intimidating a bit when there's such a wide net of what your initial thoughts were of like maybe taking a Ninja Turtles mask or something like that, where it could be an animal, it could be a cartoon character, it could be a person. That's a really wide net to kind of choose from. So when it finally gets narrowed down to a person, like what's that process? What was the process like for you guys from start to finish?
When it was decided that it would be a human face. We just kind of messed around in sculpture, and then Brian Christensen and Charlie Hernandez did a bunch of 3D work as well. And we kind of bounced back between them, and then Brian would take the 3D images and he would experiment in color on top of that, because color is such an important part of what you're looking at. And a lot of times if you're sculpting something and you want to present it as an idea, you take a picture of the sculpture and then go in Photoshop and color that to help the director or producer realize the end result better.
Yeah.
But Brian was able to take something he was 3D rendering and color it, and then take photos, screenshots of it from different angles, and present that on a page, and do that multiple ways really quickly, which was what was really helpful. We had gotten a head cast of the stunt person. Charlie sculpted on top of that to match what Brian was presenting in 3D, and we would go back and forth, and it was kind of this sort of cool little dance. And then when it came time to do things
for realsies,
for real, we had options.
Yeah.
And then when we wanted to do like little busts or whatever, we already had everything scanned and figured out. And
that's cool.
And we did the same thing on Freaky. It was designed in 3D, and then it was printed, and then molded, and then cast.
So the as practical people here who love practical, although it still is physical stuff, 3D scanning technology has really helped the process, like streamline it a bit.
Yeah, because Charlie was sculpting so that the mask lined up to somebody's eye holes. But there's no reason that Brian couldn't sculpt the same way over a scan of that actor if we had had a scan of the head in 3D to figure out what he was doing. So it's nice. And the fact that you can send somebody a turnaround, doesn't matter where they are, whether they're in Canada or down the street. Communication can happen really fast that way, which is really nice. If it was a clay sculpture, we'd just film it on a turntable,
right,
and send that footage.
Which you have.
So, yeah, which we've done quite a bit. Most all the Chucky stuff was all done
like that.
Yeah,
if you watched my documentary, Living with Chucky, we have behind the scenes footage of that, of Glenn's form taking place. But that's what they did. They sculpted it, and then you guys filmed a turnaround of every single sculpture that they had, which seems so time consuming because each one is a whole sculpture.
Yeah.
Jeez, so this seems a lot more streamlined. Also, these busts that he's talking about, my dad has this other company called Supercool, and it is super cool.
Wah, wah.
And they have made busts that you could put on your desk or on a shelf or anything like that, that is of characters that they've done, that they've already scanned, which is so great because it's really authentic to the character that they've created. So if you follow their Instagram, there's obviously Chucky characters, but now they've done busts of the Freaky Butcher, Baby from Happy Death Day, the guy, I have not watched They Them, but the person who's the killer in They Them, and now they have done one for Totally Killer, which is cool, and now they've kind of started experimenting with making action figures, so it's basically like horror Barbies, which is pretty rad, and so they did, because they had the scan of the Totally Killer, they have it's not, you can't buy this anywhere yet. Hopefully one day, if people are smart,
there's a market.
Yeah, well, hopefully people. I think it looks cool. They have basically a Barbie of the Totally Killer person.
And the full outfit too. Patty Henderson gave us access to the T-shirt art and all her reference, and
so it's
we were
authentic.
able to duplicate it in miniature. It's been really fun, and it's nice to take. It's just an extension of this work, and it's like, what else can we do with it? And we started doing that with the Chucky figures when we started doing the scans of them, and then the heads became ornaments and dolls and whatever. And it's just those two worlds are really colliding. So Brian and Cindy Gardner and Tony Gardner formed a company called Supercool Collective. We started as Nevermore, but oddly that show called Wednesday popped up right after that.
Oh shit! Yeah, Nevermore Academy.
That was the end of it.
Copyrighted to fuck. Yeah. Womp womp. And we will hopefully have a booth at Monsterpalooza this upcoming year. We do have a booth. Next year at Monsterpalooza, it'll be my dad's company Alterian, but then Supercool will also be there, and you can see these figures we'll have out on display.
All the prototypes. And then we've started doing figures from Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, there's the half-corpse lady that is on sale right now.
This is like turning into marketing.
But yeah, I know. This is marketing. Well, but it's so people know about it. And
we did like the Tarman as a...
Yeah, the Tarman thing looks really cool.
And we didn't work on it. And originally we started out just doing stuff that we worked on, but there's characters on films that we've worked on that we think are really cool, or there's films that we really admire. And I think we're going to start doing some more of that.
It's not marketing. I mean, this is marketing that, but it's just because I think higher ups, like executives and people who are in charge of IP and things, don't understand the value that they hold, and I don't think they necessarily understand the horror market of how beloved certain characters are that you wouldn't think would be. So I think it's just your appreciation of that.
Basically, it's fan service. We're fans of the genre and we like this stuff. And this is an excuse for us to make stuff we'd probably make for ourselves anyhow.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to do it and have people respond to it so well, though.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else to add about this movie or experience working on it?
No, I can tell you one thing. Originally, when they came to us, they said, sculpt us a mask that will fit anybody, just like an average generic size, like maybe slightly oversized. So our very first sculpture was a clay sculpture done oversized so anybody could wear it. They're like, there's going to be a scene in the beginning of the movie where 6 people are on this tour following the 316 killer, and they're going to be dressed like him, so they'll all wear the mask. So we need those right away. We got all those out to them right away, and they're like, oh my God, this mask on someone who's 5'5" and 100 pounds looks like a Q-tip and can't even
bobblehead
stand up straight on their head. It was a great caricature of something, but it wasn't anything that you'd assume was cool.
So they had already shot that.
They had to shoot that scene without those masks that were oversized, and they asked us to scale it down, and by then they had actually cast the person
who would be wearing it.
Who'd be wearing it, so that we could sculpt on them and make sure that everything lined up. They could see and breathe. It would look proportionate to the body. They did a film test, a camera test of the wardrobe with the first mask, and I don't know who they put it on, but there wasn't any padding between the performer's head and the mask, so it's kind of going all over like this, and they're like, we need a pad. And I'm like, yeah, even though you put a pad in it, it still looks like a Q-tip. There's a giant head on a skinny body.
Oh.
So we should scale it down, and everyone finally agreed that.
Who was the stunt person?
I do not recall. I was not around because we were starting Chucky by the time Totally Killer got into legit production. The design period ended.
Right.
And we had the sculptures mostly figured out, and then a bunch of us hightailed it out to Toronto for
Chucky season 3.
Yeah, never finished.
But now the strike is over, so we'll see about that. So they obviously cast a stunt person to be in the mask for the things that are all stunty.
Because most all the work with the person wearing the mask is the stunt person. And it's just a reveal.
I gotta say, Julie Bowen being a badass bitch in the first 10 minutes is pretty rad.
Yeah, and I think casting in the movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
The look-alike between Julie Bowen and younger
Olivia Holt.
It works.
It's so good.
The shape of their head and their nose and everything is
when
amazing.
They do that, when Kiernan is looking at her younger mom, Olivia, and it flashes to her mom and then Olivia. It's pretty spot on.
Yeah, it's amazing. And they cast Olivia first.
They did?
Yeah.
How did you know that?
Because I read an interview with Natch.
You did? Oh, was that Natch's I want this girl?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I would be curious. Well,
you have to interview her and find out.
Yeah, so Natch, come on our podcast, please.
I only know about masks and toys.
Do you have her phone number?
I do.
Okay, we'll text her.
Okay.
Now that the strike is over, too, this is helpful.
Yeah, and they can promote their movies now, so it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah.
If they do anything.
It's been unfortunate, I think, a lot of the again, going back to women and Blumhouse, it's just Black Christmas came out in 2019, and then kind of COVID was starting to hit, and I think that
it didn't help with the release of that.
It didn't help with the release of that. Then this is all the movies, not just this. It's just, you can't control a pandemic or a strike, but and then they couldn't promote properly because of the SAG strike, which is unfortunate.
Which is a shame because it was a joint venture with Amazon and Blumhouse.
Yeah.
So the potential was great, but then they couldn't do anything with it.
And the casting, again, was so
It's
good.
fantastic, yeah.
Kiernan's great. I didn't see Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which I'm sorry because Lachlan is in that, and I'm sure they're amazing in it. But I loved her as the kid, and then the guy from the Scary Movies is the dad.
Oh, yeah.
Which
that
is
was
great.
A surprise. Yeah, that was great.
Oh my God, we hit a boat! Where's the fort?
What is one of your favorite masks in the horror genre?
Favorite masks?
Like a favorite mask or maybe character.
I always really liked the Michael Myers mask from Halloween.
Okay.
Actually, because it was human, but it was off. It was It was blank.
Yeah.
It was expressionless, and there was no eye that was visible. So there was kind of no soul. And the way the guy inside it moved and brought it to life, I just thought that it was a great use of it. And then, well, even like Friday the 13th with him just grabbing a hockey mask.
Yeah.
They really sort of made it work and then sort of made it their own at the same time. I mean, people couldn't go to hockey games after that and not think of
Murder.
a killer inside the goal. It's just proof that when you find the right balance between stuff, it's pretty magical sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we are going to take a hiatus for a bit from our podcast.
Why?
Why? A, because the holidays are coming up and I would like to send it with my family. But also, we are reformatting, restructuring, rebranding, have some big news to share. So we want to get that news out in the following weeks to come, and then, start from there, start again fresh. And also, I overcommitted myself like a eager beaver, to keep it in theme, that doing a podcast once a week is insane, especially for this industry. And I work several different jobs. And also, my dad is working several different things, especially now that the strike is over. It's going to just be crazy.
It's going to explode, yeah.
So cutting back to a twice a month podcast will be a lot easier for us to do and commit to. And obviously, as things progress in both of our workspaces, we'll just have to adjust. Maybe sometimes one episode comes out a month just because we work in this business and it's a bit hard. But I wanted to get that out there because I've been posting inconsistently because I am gearing up for my own movie that will be shooting next year. And whenever the time comes to actually shoot that, I won't be able to record some podcast episodes.
What genre might that movie be?
The genre of my upcoming movie is a horror thriller.
What?
Shocking.
That's
and this
so
household,
surprising.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Wow.
With some special effects. By who?
Wow.
Who is going to do them?
I don't know.
I guess we'll have to
So you
find
can
out.
help you.
Yeah. A lot of exciting stuff to announce and things like that. But I think there was one other movie that you did in the 80s. I forgot what it's called. Maybe it was like Swamp Thing TV series or something, but you said that there wouldn't be much to talk about on that one. Anywho, with a movie that goes into the future to come back to the past, we're kind of wrapping up the 80s of my dad's career anyhow, and now when we come back, we can start in the 90s, and I believe 1990 is Darkman.
Yes.
And I just met Sam Raimi at Son of Monsterpalooza, and we have a picture with him, and my dad got to reunite and talk to Sam again after several years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and he was like the nicest guy ever, and Ted was also there, and he was super nice. Mm-hmm. So maybe, if not in our first episode of, talking about Darkman, maybe we could get Sam to come on and do an episode or something.
That'd be great.
Although he's obviously a busy boy, but
yeah.
But that's our lives, that's our schedule, and we will see you when we come back. Bye!